Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Mike with smartoptiontrading.com. It is Sunday, the 18th of May. This is my week ahead video. I typically do this for members every Sunday. I'm not going to have time to do charts today like I wanted to because of some things that come up. So I'm going to put this out there for free. I hope you guys all enjoy it. If you want to join us, I'll put a link in the description below. So we've had a very bullish week last week with the China de-escalation. And we go into this week and, the catalyst, it's unclear. Trump is back in the United States after spending a good part of last week over in the Middle East. He's been very active over the weekend, and he's probably going to be very active this week as well. And we'll see how that kind of plays out. When you look here at the economic calendar here, by the way, courtesy of Trader Exchange, if you look interested, let me know. Um, you can see a lot of red. This week's going to be dominated by Fed speak. There's a ton of Fed speakers from a perspective of economic data. There's really nothing here that moves the needle. PMI flash composite is the only thing of interest at 9:45 on Thursday. Otherwise, pretty quiet. From an earnings perspective, kind of the same thing. Very quiet week. We have names. You have Pony AI and Home Depot on Tuesday, Palo Alto and Toll Brothers on Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, Target, Baidu, TJ Maxx, right? You got Wix in there. Wednesday night is interesting to me with Snowflake and Zoom. Want to see what they have to say, especially Snowflake. And then, Thursday, you got names, but, these are not names I typically look at, but you got Workday in there and Autodesk and stuff. Overall, quiet. Let's start off with sentiment and then we'll go into things here. So sentiment here is kind of interesting right now. You look what's going on. We'll start off here with the oscillators on the NASDAQ. We just got back above that 200. We're at 208. That is a little bit heated. And again, nothing go much higher, right? You can see we got up to 375 a couple weeks ago, but worth noting we're a little hot there. The New York Stock Exchange slightly overbought at 154, but still plenty of room to run up. Your advanced decline lines all curling back up. Look at the strength in the Dow with the push by United. That's skewing everything on there. But the SPX, nice move, and the NDX as well. When we look at number of stocks making highs versus lows on the S&P 500, plus 73 versus -4, I mean, these are great numbers, right? These are, they're not like off the chart, but they're great. On the NASDAQ, plus 143 versus -80. So we're positive here. Things look good, right? This is, markets like this don't typically just roll over unless there's news. Put to call, got a very bold up reading. This is the one little problem we have here. You have everybody's leaning heavily on calls right now. So, it might get a little beat down, but it is noticeable that the index itself, right, just the ETFs, the indexes here, not quite as bullish. And, so we'll see what we're going to get here. We look at market overall market breadth. It's paused here on the NASDAQ, whereas the New York Stock Exchange leading up and put in a new all-time high here. Overall, pretty good. ES, beautiful little Patterson pattern. Look at all these red candles versus green candles versus red candles, right? Not bullish week, up, 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 and up every day. The NQ, similar, a little bit more stuck. Crude remains overall weak. Bonds remain one of the real concerns still in this market. The other day, we're talking about a possible double bottom. Do we have a double bottom W pattern forming here? We'll see. Moody's came in and downgraded the United States debt yesterday, downgraded our credit rating over the weekend. We'll see how that plays out. Gold, not much going on. Bitcoin had a real nice move and it's just sitting here flagging at this 104 area. The VIX, while still slightly elevated, is back down to 17 and it's come way off the highs. HYG just kind of moving around the markets. The transports strengthening. This is good, right? When transports are strong, typically markets are strong, back above the 200-day, and the dollar remains overall weak but off the lows. So going into this week, we're going to watch the S&P 500. Here's your 3% pullback that we came into, and here we are right at it on Friday's close. That's your next big level. Above that, then your all-time high is at 613.23, and this market sure looks like it wants to go get there. If we can get a dip, I would love to buy in some more dip. But right now this market, it has FOMO. FOMO is fear of missing out. There's a lot of melting up going on. One, two, three. We look at this market up, right? All every day last week. A dip to the 8-day would be awesome. A dip to this trend line wouldn't change anything. Here's your 8-day coming up, your 21-day coming up, your 50-day curling up. Are we extended off the 50-day on the index? Yeah, we're extended off the 50-day, but market doesn't care. Qs, oops, nice move up here, not far from that all-time high now, very close. The IWM remains overall weaker, doesn't want to get going, and the Dow heavily affected by United Healthcare had a beautiful little move on Friday thanks to that. So what am I watching this week? Let's talk about the financials. Deregulation's coming. You see the financial sector trying to break out. Not a lot of movement though. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they're both okay. They're not getting a lot of movement on this. Wells Fargo remains out of play. Bank of America, the same thing, kind of out of play. Citigroup, all of them here. So just keep an eye on them. Not much going on. In the payment space, a firm, just can't find its footing right now. And forget about PayPal. I haven't looked at it for a while, not doing much. Same thing with XYZ, Block Company. These companies just not doing particularly good. Although I'm surprised that XYZ took all that weakness back. Crypto, coin. Coin joins the S&P 500 on the open on Monday morning. So watch for a little maybe sell the news. It's already in there here. We'll see how that plays out. MSTR remains very strong and looking good up here. Even some of your um, CLSK, there we go. Clean Spark, Mara, Riot, your miners are holding up, trying to wake up a little bit. We'll keep an eye on those. Energy to me remains a trade I'm just not interested in, but it's trading up at 86. Chevron there, again, there's nothing going on here when you look around. XBI, another trade. I know a lot of people are like really want to get involved in pharma and stuff. I'll wait for it to say it's ready. Lilly, off the lows, paid out their dividend, but there's just not much going on here overall. If it wants to curl up, it has to get through a 21 day at 779. J&J, here at the 8 day, none of these look particularly attractive compared to the markets when you go looking around. Let's go over to the semis. The semis here, nice move up last week, nice little flag here. NVIDIA reports on the 28th, 259.63 are the recent highs, and it might be in play if we get a breakout. So let's start off with NVIDIA. NVIDIA, beautiful 1, 2, 3, 4 day move, 5 day move here, up every day this last week. Is it extended? Yep. Does it care? It doesn't seem to. It's kind of, a little bit up, but not a big move yesterday on Friday. Next move there is to 140, and then we test that 143.63 and see if we can get into that gap up there. AMD is kind of all over the place. AMD announced a $6 billion buyback. You had a big gap up on that. Here's your gap up on the China news, and it's sitting here. Overall, AMD is waking up. 125.25, my next level, I want to keep an eye on there. Why? Because there's a gap there to fill, and that would be your next target. Wouldn't be surprised if it came down and touched the 8 day down here at that 110 area. AMD trades sloppy. Havgo, one of the better names out there. Nice move. Here's your all-time high. Holding up nicely. Bear full flag. I like this above this 236 area, 235 area. And then if it can take this out, right, you see a little bit flag up here at 237.60. And then it has gap to fill, believe it or not. So if you get above this high, go and put an alert there. I always do this. This is one thing you have to do is put alerts so you have a reason to look at it. Above there, you have a gap to fill up here to 244. So we'll keep an eye on that one. The rest of the semis, they're okay. Qualcomm, Micron looks interesting, has flow. This one's kissing a gap. We'll keep an eye on that one on Monday and next week. ARM also breaking to the upside here despite bad report. They bought it back. Telling, right? So 140 your next target there, and then above 140, I would look towards that 150 level. You see all the action that's there. Switching over to retail, they report this week. Costco up and breaking out. They don't report this week. Walmart reported last week. They broke out despite a bad report, and I did not think it was a particularly good report moving to the upside. That said, Trump came out and he railed on them this weekend, and the Walmart fired back. Walmart said that Trump said that Walmart needs to absorb the tariff cost and to stop crying, blah, blah, blah. And they made billions. And Walmart said, we have razor thin margins. He basically said, mind your own business. We'll see how this kind of plays out. There is a gap at $100.12 worth watching there. Going elsewhere, let's go to tech. Let's start off with the big names. We'll start off with Amazon. Amazon here, not the prettiest of patterns here. I do own Amazon, so not the prettiest of patterns. You came up, nice gap, the market pushed, and it came back in, and it's not looking happy. Watch the 8 day. As long as it holds the 8 day, I'm okay with it. If it cannot hold the 8 day, then it probably comes down and fills this gap back down to the 21 day here at 194.90. If not, watch for a move back to 215 and see if we can break out. Google. Finally has some good moves here. Took back that big weakness scandal, pushed up, a little down candle here on Friday. 200-day remains my next target. That would be a very big level. We've been under it for almost 3 months. Microsoft. Nice push up. This one's just levitating. It's hard to trade right now. It's just an investor. It's just grinding up. Looks great. Can go much higher if it wants to. Microsoft, I think that's your all-time high at 468. Let me just double check that for you guys. Yep, 468 is your all-time high. And off that report, I wouldn't be surprised if we get there sometime in the not too distant future. Netflix, new all-time highs. Meta, another one with kind of a little bit not great action here, but held the 8-day area and bounced off of it on Friday. Actually came right down into my buy trigger on Friday. Moved off of that. Needs to get back above the recent highs to get going. Apple. Everybody, Apple, Mike, Apple, Apple. Apple's got a nice little pattern here. Okay, for what it's worth, you got a little bit of an inverted head and shoulder pattern. It needs to get above and into this gap at 214.45. That's a pretty big gap. That'll bring it all the way up here to around 224 area, or maybe even to the 200-day if you want to really see. That said, it continues to struggle, and these candles are trading on an island. You have a gap above, and you have a gap sitting here below it. Not exactly trading like we'd want it to trade. Software, Palantir, new all-time high last week. We talked about this cup and handle pattern. I forget who pointed that out last weekend, but yep, here's your cup, handle breaking to the upside. Now we watch for a break of 133.49 to get back into it. Overall, looking pretty good there. The market looks good, guys. Everything looks good. China names, I still don't love. Baba, not a good report. PDD, we're not doing much. Baidu reports this week, but that's up to you. That's an area where you guys want to go. I don't generally go there. And, we kind of get the idea where we're going this week. So, it's going to be a busy week. Let's talk Boeing real quick. Boeing, nice up pattern here. Needs to break above the 210 area now to get going. If it dips to the 8-day and holds, it would be a buy. And we'll go from there. All right. So smartoptiontrading.com if you want to join us for a live trading room. Overall, hope everybody's doing well. Guys, catch you in the morning. Now I have to go try to see if I get my computer built today. Now I have all the parts back in after having some problems, and we'll go from there. Catch you guys in the AM.